So when it comes to the future, it's looking pretty bleak because the politicians can't fix it, and even if they could, well, their idea of fixed is very cringe and pretty awful. So what simple steps can you take to prepare for the future? Because there's 4 important points that I wanted to discuss with you today, and it's all about creating a buffer between you and pretty much most problems that can pop up. So step number 1 is save, right? You gotta save. It's the elephant in the room. This is the number 1 thing that is going to create a financial margin between you and anything that pops up. And it's something that we don't really discuss. You know, people would much rather, they would much rather tell you the most intimate detail of their private life rather than tell you their income and expenditure, right? But I'm not asking you to talk about it with random people on the street, okay? You just have to talk about it internally. You just have to think, what moves can you make? And the best place to start, and to be fair, you could argue it's the only place to start, is by just saving a fractionally small amount each and every month or each and every week. Even if that's just £1. And then you do that every single day. It might just be a small amount, but it's going to build up over time. And specifically what that is going to do is any emergencies that pop up, you're going to be able to create a sort of a margin between you and the day-to-day dramas, allowing you to focus on the most important aspects of your life. And there's 4 steps in this, right? But I'm going to tell you, as they say in YouTube, step 4 is my favorite because there's going to be an overarching theme in all of this, right? But people will say, if you do start to save £1 a day or £1 a week or £1 a month, is that people that you meet on the street is they'll laugh at you and they'll say, oh, it's just £1. But what you got to tell them is that they don't get it, because today it's £1, tomorrow it's £2. It's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. It sounds small, I completely agree, but this is the number 1 thing, like I said, that is going to create a buffer between you and the day-to-day, we'll call them situations that pop up, whether that's crazy Rishi Sunak or just generally the crazy ex, because, you know, we've all got them, myself included. And number 2 on the best way to prepare for the future is to just watch every angle and just try and absorb everything. You don't just have to listen to me, you should listen to even the people that disagree with you, because they're probably the most important people to listen to, because you've got to kind of see what the nutters are up to. You've got to try and absorb all of the information that you can, and what that's going to do specifically is it's just going to give you the best information to make the best personal judgment, because the only person that knows the most about you is you. So if you absorb all of the information, you can make the best judgment for yourself in your day-to-day decisions. But what the media tries to do now is they only try and give you one angle. They try and sort of obscure you so you can't see the full picture. Whereas if you look at both angles, even if you disagree with one, you still have to look at both angles, and that is the best way to do it. And point number 3 on how best to prepare for the future is to stock up. Because point number 1 was to stock up on money, but point number 3 is to stock up on stuff, because there's always stuff that you need. And we've all been there the last couple of years where there's been those major shortages. There was the petrol shortages, and before that, you had the toilet paper shortages. I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm going to make a confession here, right? I was the toilet paper guy, okay? Now, I'm not saying that, like, you know, I was emptying shelves left, right, and centre, but over a couple of weeks, over a couple of months, I built up a decent supply. Same with other items that I needed, just general day-to-day stuff that don't wear out, because it's always confused me how people can live through those times where there were shortages on the shelves, and then they come to the present day and it's like they've almost forgotten it. Okay, so even if those shortages might have got you in the past, and they may well have, and there's no harm in that, but you just can't let it happen again. Like I said, things that don't go out of date, things that you use. It's a bad example, but here's an example that I'll give. So I don't smoke cigarettes, okay? But if I did, with filter tips, they don't go out of date, and people are always running out of them. It's kind of the same with lighters as well. But people are always running out. And if it's something that you use and it's something that doesn't go out of date, just buy it. Because you'll either use it, or instead of going to the shops, you won't need to go down to the corner shop because you've already got it. And specifically what that is going to do to help you prepare for the future, it's essentially BS insurance. It just buys you more margin, as well as everything else on the list, and we'll get to step 4 because that's my personal favourite, is it just gives you more margin to deal with, because when it's not there on the shelves, no one else is really going to be looking out for you, and if you've already got it at home, then you're pretty secured. And if, like myself, you've got kids, you know, family members that you need to look after, just having it there on demand, it's pretty decent. I've actually got, it's in my understairs cupboard, I've got 2 Lidl bags, you know, like the thick bag for lives, and they're full of pasta. So I just stocked up on pasta, right? No word of a lie, there's probably about £20 worth of pasta, not weight, but like cost-wise, like 20 quid's worth of pasta. And honestly, it's going to last weeks, if not months. Like, I'm not saying I want to sit there and just eat a ton of pasta, but if it hits the fan, I've got weeks, if not months, all sorted. And it's not just pasta, obviously there is other stuff as well. But my son actually, when I showed him, I was quite proud of it. But my son, when I showed him, he said, Dad, I don't like pasta. That's a true story. He said, I don't like pasta. And I remember thinking to myself, well, sort your own food out, son. Jesus. But like I said, you have to stock up, because that in itself, you stock up on the saving, you stock up on the money, and you stock up on the stuff. Honestly, not a lot can get through that. Whether that's the politicians or, like I said, it could be the crazy ex. And point number 4 on how to best prepare for the future is honestly, just tell people to swivel. You don't hear that word enough. It was kind of a 90s thing, but just tell people to swivel. If they're taking the mick out of your plan, if they don't see eye to eye with your plan, just tell them to jog on. Because if someone is thick, broke and stupid and they're taking the mick out of you, most people would see that as criticism. But friend, that's confirmation. That's confirmation that you're doing something right. Because when someone is on the wrong track and they're taking the mick out of you, what that does to your mindset, you can't let that get in. Because otherwise you're just going to end up like them, without 2 little bags of pasta in the understairs cupboard. You imagine how many people, there's probably people out there now watching this video laughing, oh, clown's got pasta in his understairs cupboard. Absolutely. Get yourself some. Go down a Lidl at the weekend, get yourself some pasta, and if they're laughing at you, that's great. These are the people that are going to be starving when it comes to it, and they're laughing at you. You should probably want them laughing at you, because if these nutters are in agreement with you, then it kind of shows that something is wrong. So you have to tell people to swivel. So point number 1, we had save money. You have to save. That is going to create a financial buffer between you and anything that pops up. It doesn't need to be a large amount, because that's the beauty. If you haven't got much, then there isn't much to protect against. If you haven't got a great deal, £500, well, that's going to go a long way in protecting you. If you're a millionaire, you need a lot more money to protect you. But if you're starting small, that's great news, because you haven't got to do a great deal. Number 2, you gotta watch every angle. You got to see what people are up to, left, right and centre. People that don't agree with you, go talk to them. People that do agree with you, come talk to me. You have to speak to everyone, and you have to absorb everything. If someone says he's got a crazy idea or a crazy theory, at least hear him out. Last couple of years have shown them to be true. Number 3, stock up. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to go spending lots of money, because that would kind of counteract point number 1. But just the basic essentials. For, say, 50 quid, you could get a good couple of weeks worth of food for you and your family. It might not be the best tasting food. 4-year-old pasta sat there in my understairs cupboard with me and my 2 kids mid-apocalypse. Might not be the most ideal setting in the world, but the fact that we've got it, it puts you far ahead of the bunch, and that only costs, 20 quid's worth of pasta? All good. And then 4, tell them to swivel. Let's bring that word back and just tell them to swivel. If people are taking the mick out of your plan, like I said, that's not criticism, that is confirmation. And if you made it this far in the video, I'm not going to try and sell you nothing, I'm not going to try and ask you to do anything. I just wanted to say thank you. I was just sat there for a couple of hours at work, and I was just pondering what people could do to improve the situation on a personal level. But with this list here, you could easily tick 80% of the box. So again, thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you to the channel members. And as Mr. 2024 says,
this country has gone crazy.